A longtime Cleveland pastor is remembering his special connection to Jimmy Carter, the man he was proud to call friend for nearly 50 years. 19 News anchor Tiffany Tucker spent time with Reverend Otis Moss.
1980, when he was running for re-election.
Reverend Otis Moss Jr. reflecting on his friend, President Jimmy Carter. What will you miss most about him?
Just his presence on the planet. President Carter was courageous, and he is one president who was willing to seek to lift people around the world.
Reverend Moss invited President Carter to Olivet Institutional Baptist Church in Cleveland, where he was a pastor for more than 30 years. The former president first visited with the congregation back in 1974 as a candidate, then in 1980 as President of the United States.
He was at home. He grew up in the Baptist church. He was a Sunday school teacher for more than a half century. For him to come to Olivet, it was really like coming home. When the choir started singing, "Lord, I can't turn back, just because I've been born again. I can't turn back." After they finished, he wanted them to continue.
The president even gave the Reverend and his wife several pieces of art with a personal note showing his appreciation for their friendship. Reverend Moss worked on both of Carter's campaigns. He and his wife invited to the White House on several occasions, including a state dinner.
We shook hands, and he had that down-home greeting. "Hey, man, how you doing?"
The pastor says he was most impressed with our country's former leader during a trip to Camp David.
And described what it was like to negotiate between Sadat and Begin. And this, to me, demonstrated the born-again spirit in a person who grew up in the narrow confines of racism and learned to fight against it and help others overcome it. His words, to be able to negotiate between two opposing forces.
What does President Carter's legacy mean to you, Reverend?
You can grow up, you can be born in ugly circumstances when it comes to racism and hate and all of the ideologies that people adopt. He was surrounded with that, but you can rise above it. And not only rise above it, you can work against it and live in a wider world and create a better world.
"19 News with continuing coverage of the death of former President Jimmy Carter. As soon as we know more about the state funeral arrangements, we'll share them on air, online, and the 19 News app.